Hurricane Michael ripped through the Florida Panhandle 6 years ago. Mayor Margo Anderson's book reveals what really happened in Lynn Haven. 600 pages with actual FBI investigation memos and much more. The foreword is written by Guy Lewis, a Fox News contributor who oversaw all federal prosecutors under Attorney General John Ashcroft nearly 20 years ago. He represented James Finch, the longtime contractor hit with bogus charges so absurd that 2 juries rejected them. It didn't take long for the second jury to return a not guilty verdict. Margo's book is a journey of legal treachery that will shock the conscience of every American. Order your copy today of Hurricane Michael, Storm of Corruption at Amazon.com. Or you can pick up a copy in Lynn Haven at Victoria's Last Bite. Well, this is one of those days. So this morning there was a city commission meeting in Lynn Haven, and the mayor, Jesse Nelson, has been pushing to give the city manager she already makes about $200,000 a year counting her benefits. It's like $135,000 in benefits and all kinds of stuff. But she needs a lot more money. I mean, she's been doing important stuff for the city of Lynn Haven for certain people. And in April, there is an election. And so members of this city commission want to make sure that Vickie Gainer remains through 2027. Right? And she needs a lot more money. Well, one of the other commissioners who hasn't got along with them for a little while, Jamie Warwick, had another idea, and he made a big presentation. He said, look, what the city really could use, because they don't have one, is a city clerk. That's what the city could use, rather than having the city manager have to do everything. Get a city clerk. Instead, take the money you want to give her for a raise, and we'll hire a city clerk. Now, what you're going to hear tonight is Mayor Jesse Nelson's reasons why that's a bad idea. And I'm telling you, it's knee-slapping funny. He's the funniest dude I ever saw in my life. He said, we can't hire city clerks because they steal. And he even cites evidence of why it is too dangerous to hire a city clerk. You hire a city clerk, it's like, I mean, it's like having a stick-up artist right among us. It's very dangerous to hire a city clerk. Almost every other city has a city clerk. And they're even going to go into what a city clerk have stopped all the corruption after Hurricane Michael. They're going to talk about that, and you're going to hear what they say about that. Who discovered the corruption? They'll talk about it. So even James Finch goes up to the city commission. This is the third time he's been there since Mayor Nelson was installed by Sheriff Ford and the FBI after they arrested the whistleblower of the real corruption, the real mayor, Margo Anderson, and James Finch himself. So you're going to see James Finch explain why it's a bad idea, and you're not going to want to miss it. I'll show you that first. And then we're just going to watch a little bit. If you'll forgive me, I'm going to pass. I'm going to just go right by Jamie Warwick, the commissioner, who has the idea of a city clerk. Not a bad idea. And I'll tell you why I think so. But his sizzling and very energetic presentation about why I'm going to skip through that because we can't have that much excitement on the show. Okay, so I'm going to skip through that first, if you'll forgive me. Let's thank a couple of sponsors and then go right to James Finch. Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777.
Strong, effective leadership. 3 words that could mean the difference between prison and your freedom. I'm Al Stallene, your Panama City Beach lawyer. 850-215-0628.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
All right, let's go right to the first public speaker. Look at that. It's James Finch. Do you see him on the bottom right? Let me make this as big as possible so you can see. So these are the reasons James Finch believes it's a bad idea to give city manager Vickie Gainer, sitting in the middle kind of there with the mayor, why it's a bad idea to give her a raise and to extend her contract to 2027. Here's what he had to say.
But I thought that when I was here, you said that you control the agenda and you put it on the, back then. So I've been to three, and so I forget. If I'm wrong on that, I'm sorry. And then you say, this is not a new contract for the city manager. When you change or modify a contract, it will be considered a new contract, because you say, what's the date on this contract? There's been an addendum to this contract. So that's considered new in my book. So, and I apologize for that if I'm wrong. But I'm saying there are several lawsuits against the city of Lynn Haven, and Vickie Gainer's 90% of them. There's going to be some liability, considerable amount of liability with the city of Lynn Haven if they lose all these lawsuits. And I think that should be considered. And when all the depositions is done and everybody's been under oath and y'all have seen all of it, y'all gonna be under oath, then y'all consider and y'all can extend whatever, but there's liability out there, a lot of it. It's cost me several $100,000. And like I say, the lawsuits are going on and they're fixing to happen very soon. I understand our contract goes to 2027. I don't know what needs to be changed, but if you changed it, it's going to be considered new. And, but there is some liability and everybody's forgetting the liability. I would like to propose that, y'all's, Moody was an accountant for y'all, but if y'all have Moody, if y'all hire him to do an audit on all this construction and all this damage for the FEMA work, for the city hall work, all the changes here, match the change orders with the money, I'll pay. I will donate the money and pay it for City of Lynn Haven to get the audit here, and everybody will feel better about it. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'm here.
All right. Thank you.
How about that? James Finch offers to pay for a third-party audit of the city of Lynn Haven. You pick the third. Jay Moody's been here, and Jay Moody wasn't particularly helpful to James Finch when he was wrongly prosecuted by the feds based on the bogus investigation by Sheriff Tommy Ford. But he said, look, you do it the right way, I'll pay for it. Thank you very much for your public commentary. But we ain't doing that. I'll tell you that. That is not happening. We're not doing that. We're going to give Vickie Gainer a big raise, keep her to 2027, and she will keep everybody out. That's what's going to happen. But thank you very much. All right. So now I will show you. It's so interesting. So there was a presentation by Commissioner Warwick. Let's see if I can just kind of like give you a glimpse of it. Right here. Okay. So he talks about the general duties and responsibilities of a city clerk. They don't have a city clerk in Lynn Haven. The charter did not create a city clerk position, right? So what are some of the features? And the second person on the left there, that's Jamie Warwick, Mr. Warwick there, sitting next to Vickie Gainer. He says, well, there's continuity, there's a nonpartisan role, accessibility. But really, I'm going to tell you the biggest thing that a city clerk would do is be the keeper of the records. That's the biggest thing a city clerk would do. Be the keeper of the records. Right now, who's the keeper of the records? Vickie Gainer. So they don't want a clerk. They don't want a city clerk like most every other city. But instead of having a intelligent conversation about it, you are going to not believe the reasons that Mayor Nelson provide. I used to think that people, and I probably they do, probably the redhead dude that runs around with Arthur Cullen. He's probably the one, if I had to guess, who does the research and gives him his talking points. That's my guess. But now I'm starting to think these things he says are so dumb that only Jesse Nelson could have come up with these things. That I don't know. I just don't know. But watch. All right, let's get past this very, very exciting presentation by Jamie Warwick. Let's get to where, and the first person who talks is Commissioner Sam Peebles. Sam Peebles is not big on a city clerk. And then Mayor Nelson is going to start, and we're going to go right to it right here. All right, now they're giving Commissioner Nelson's the only one that thinks the city clerk would be a good idea. And here he is.
Long conversations with them about it. And there were some that were basically all the reasons
Okay, here we go.
but I think it would have came out at least earlier, if possibly preventing it.
Okay, so he's talking about the corruption in Lynn Haven. And if we had a city clerk, maybe they would have caught the corruption sooner, is what he says. Watch.
Works better as a whole for the city for multiple reasons. One's basically all the reasons I talked before, but the big one being transparency. So when you say it doesn't work, I would encourage you to call some of those city clerks and talk to them. I'm telling you, no system's perfect. Got it. But when we look back at history of what happened to Lynn Haven, I'm trying to prevent another occurrence like that from happening in the future. Now, would that prevent it from happening? I don't know. Again, there's no perfect system. But I think it would have came out at least earlier, if possibly preventing it.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I don't think maybe I'm saying it improperly. The idea of having checks and balances is not a bad thing. I'm not saying that adding a city clerk would necessarily, you're saying both ways. I'm saying there's more options than those two ways, and I want to explore those options, not the option of city clerk under the city clerk under a city manager, or no city clerk, or a city clerk underneath the commission. I'm saying we should do a third-party audit where there's an unbiased third party, not that there's only two options. There's more than two options.
That's what James Finch said.
I like the idea. I like where this is headed, but I don't like the idea of clerk.
Okay.
I do have a few.
Okay, so before the mayor starts, I'm not going to go back and look for it either. I think it was Commissioner Peebles said something about, I don't know who found the corruption. Remember, FEMA money was stolen in 2018, 2019, and then Mayor Anderson blew the whistle to Sheriff Tommy Ford, and they blamed Mayor Anderson and turned the city manager, Vickie Gainer, who signed the checks or approved the checks, into the FBI informant. And if I am wrong, hopefully somebody can correct me, but I think that's the way it was. All right, so he said, I think it was staff who found out all the corruption. And even Jamie Warwick goes, yeah, I think it was staff. It wasn't staff. It was James Finch himself and Margot Anderson. They found the corruption. It was Michael White, Vickie Gainer. They were the ones with the checkbooks. They were the ones who saw the gigantic payments being made, like 5 payments for $5 million to the late Derwin White's nephew. All right. If they don't know the story, they can read the book and find out. You say, what book? Margot Anderson's book. And by the way, you can meet her because on Thursday in Lynn Haven, there's going to be a stack of these books, and Mayor Anderson will be there in Lynn Haven at Roberts Hall. It's over right next door to Victoria's Secret. Victoria's Secret. I'm so sorry. Victoria's Last Bite. See what's on my mind. Victoria's Last Bite, which kind of goes hand in hand if you think. So anyway, it's right next to Victoria's Last Bite, and that's where she'll be, and I'll be there as well. I wrote the prologue, the opening chapter, but this book is it's like 600 pages, and it's got like the investigation notes and everything in there. If you want to find out what happened in Lynn Haven, we'll see you on Thursday, 7 o'clock, Roberts Hall. All right, let's get to the mayor.
Few questions. I guess one is, who provides the check and balances to the clerk?
That would be us, the commission, so they have 5 different bosses.
So if we feel like we're not adequate enough to provide checks and balances to the city manager, then why would we add another position that we still would be inadequate to provide checks and balances to?
It's a structure.
So I want to point something out, and tell me what you noticed too. This is why I find Jesse Nelson so absolutely friggin' hilarious. First of all, the dude claims to be a scholar, a doctor of leadership. He has a doctorate degree in ministry. I don't know why he's not proud of that. He's taken down everything that says doctor of leadership, but the dude's such a phony. I've read his like 5-page paper, and it was plagiarized from YouTube. Bernie, what do you know about that? I taught college English. I know just a little, just a little. I would have handed it back, and well, actually, they would have got nothing on that. It was plagiarism. Oh boy. Anyway, so notice that he is not like he comes to the meeting because he wants to make sure Vickie Gainer stays there till 2027 and make more than a couple $100,000 a year with benefits. And so instead of having a real conversation, right? Everything Jesse Nelson asks is a gotcha question. He doesn't really listen to the answers and try to learn something maybe he doesn't know or hasn't thought of. Everything is a gotcha. There is no intellectual honesty or integrity at all in his conversation. Listen, just see if I'm being too hard on the guy, and I've had these conversations with him. You remember the long interview I had with him on the phone where he withdrew his consent to air it halfway through. And I said, that's not how that works. Because everything about him is he's trying to get you. He thinks he's real smart, and you can tell by his tone of his voice and everything. Imagine being in a relationship with this guy. Watch.
Structure thing. It's not because it's a structure thing. So to me, I think it's a better structure falling under the commission because it creates those checks and balances.
Okay, one thing I'm not sure if they're aware of or not, but the body language is so entertaining. The attorney, Amy Myers, is all the way to the right. I call her Amy Whiteout Myers because when she was with Panama City, she gave FBI agent Larry Borghini a altered copy of a plat. An altered copy of a plat. And I asked several times at the meeting while she was sitting there, do you deny it? They would not deny it. They gave the FBI an altered copy of a plat, Amy Whiteout Myers. But the FBI loves when people lie to them as long as it keeps their people out of trouble and puts the whistleblowers in prison. That is what I've learned about, this administration's FBI. But her body language is hilarious. She's very smart. Also, on the other end, bookending her, that is Judy Vandergrift. She's the one, look at her little skinny microphone. It looks like she's already bent it and tried to twist off the end of it. She gets very angry very fast, and she just sits there and tries to breathe it out. She tries to twist that thing off. The whole time I'm hoping that nobody gives her a pair of sharp scissors sitting behind Jamie Ward, because she just, notice the body language. But I don't think any of them up there know, except for Amy Myers, that the charter, the constitution of the city, does not create a city clerk. Therefore, they cannot create a city clerk, Jamie Ward, to work directly under the commission. it would have to be a position underneath the city manager, Vickie Gainer. And I still think there's value in having a city clerk under a city manager, just not under this one. So I don't think they understand that while they're talking to each other up here. But watch Jesse Nelson with all of his gotcha questions. This is great. I'll try not to interrupt.
Okay. All right. Second, who you noted, I noted that according to your presentation that prior to 2023, there was a deputy city clerk. Of course, we've been here since 2021. So who was the deputy city clerk prior to 2023?
Don't know. You know? No. I looked, what I did was I looked at the budget, and on the budget, how it shows all the manpower, and I think it was fiscal year 22, if I remember right, I think it showed the deputy city clerk position. But then when you look at the fiscal year 23 budget, that position is no longer there. So that's how I got that information. But I don't know who it was. But I'll say this is, I think those duties and responsibilities have been divvied out to multiple different positions. You know what I mean? So there's multiple people doing them.
Yeah, and I don't think it's just us hiring one person. I think you're going to have to basically create a whole nother department, because that one person, from what we've seen, is going to have multiple people to help them perform those duties.
So the ones that are performing a lot of those duties now, like.
So this is now comes all of the absurd objections to having a city clerk. There are reasonable ones. There are good reasons on both sides of this issue, actually. But Jesse insists that if we hire a city clerk, and remember, it can only be under the city manager because it's not a charter position. So if we hire a city clerk, he says she's going to need, or he's going to need, a secretary and a whole staff. It's such nonsense. There are city clerks in almost every city, and they don't have an entire administration underneath them. Jesse Nelson's trying to act like if we hire a city clerk, there's going to be an entire administration under her, just like there's an entire administration under city manager Vickie Gainer. He's creating this situation that does not exist, and he just argues the hell out of it. Watch.
Like we talked about the one pre-commission meeting, Kevin Obo's talked about Panama City and how Panama City had, I think there's like 5 people under them, and they're actually city employees. They work for the city clerk, but we don't hire them. The city clerk does all those, so they're city employees. But we could use some of the people we have on staff now for that do a lot of those duties.
So the question then would be, if they go under the city clerk, then there's no administration of them by the city manager, which then, as Commissioner Peebles said, creates conflict, because now you would have.
He is creating an entirely fictitious scenario, and he knows it. Look at his body language. I mean, imagine being in a relationship with this guy. Everything is the gaslighting you. It's unbelievable. Hey, Jesse, Mayor, you cannot hire a city clerk and put the city clerk under the commission. That would have to be up to the voters. It would be a charter amendment. If you did this, it would have to go under Vickie Gainer. So now he's creating an entirely crazy situation.
Let's say, for example, CJ doing duties for the clerk and the city manager. And then if someone comes in and says, hey, I need this done, who then takes priority? Because equally, both of them are your bosses.
Right.
And and that's an everyday issue, that if someone comes in and says, I need this done, that's on any job, who then takes priority? What we're saying is. So
that would be, Jody is laying out what, and I want to make sure I'm fair to Commissioner Jamie Warwick, because I sort of like his idea. I would vote for it. And it would have to be done the right way, which is through, 3 of them at least would vote to put it on an amendment for the voters to change the charter. That would have to be how it would work. And so he's suggesting going about it the correct way. Okay.
Is that both of you all are equal, so it's up to you to figure out who takes priority. Now that employee can be written up, reprimanded, et cetera, because they didn't do what the other supervisor asked them to do, because they're between a rock and a hard place because we've put them there. So it's not just the clerk position.
He is acting like this is an impossible thing to do when damn near every other city has this system.
But if we're saying, okay, hey, you're gonna I think that just creates more tension within that department.
So that's why it's so important, whoever we hire the right person. They got to have certain type of personality. You know, you're going to need someone with a strong authority, by the book type person.
And I get that in the book and the pamphlet that we provide, the job description, the manual, all that's great. But we're talking about the reality of if something is due on the same day, and city manager asks for something, city clerk asks for something, who then takes priority, that creates a conflict, an unnecessary conflict. Right now, all those duties are being performed and all those individuals are answering to one person. Therefore, when that one person says, hey, I need this duty performed, they can respond back and say, well, hey, I still have this other assignment. Do you want me to postpone doing this in order to do this? Because they know what their schedule.
I think the thing that makes Jesse Nelson so entertaining to me is that he wants so badly to be taken seriously, like he's a scholar. And he talks down to people when he doesn't know what in the F he's talking about. It is, and he really buys into it. Like, the detail he goes into in his scenarios. Look at every person's body language on this commission. He's the funniest dude I ever saw I swear, if there was a sitcom called, I don't know, just Jesse with his big dumb face on it, I would watch that thing, because ask Sarah Moon. I'll sit at home and just spit my apple juice right out when he starts doing this.
Is, and they know what their calendar is. So not only are we creating another position, we're creating two different administrations. Is essentially what we're creating. So we're creating a dichotomy within our city, which is not getting us closer to unity for our city. So it's really creating a divide in several different ways. And so that would be one of my concerns. My other concern, because I did a little research
Here's his other one
on some city clerk stuff.
Okay. Here it is. He's done some other research. One concern is the divide. All right. The other concern, I'm gonna give you a hint. His other concern is ding, ding, ding. City clerks steal too much money. That's the real reason that we can't have one around here anywhere. What? I gotta let this play because it's amazing.
And what I found is that in the past year, at least 9 city clerks have been indicted for stealing funds.
In the past year, how many elected officials do you think have been indicted who actually stole funds? I mean, the logic here is there's no logic, but he's going to buy into it and get into all the details, which is what makes him the funniest dude I've ever see. He's got the same personality as Jeff McConnell, but there was nothing funny about Jeff McConnell, the former council member in Panama City. He was just a sadistic kind of like know-it-all dummy, right? Jesse is funny as hell because he buys into it so much. Well, Jeff did too. I don't know what it is.
Within the past 6 months, as of today, interim city clerk, $70,000. Another city clerk, $107,000. Another city clerk, $15,000. Another city clerk, $900,000.
Each one.
Hold on. $151,000.
Hold on.
$487,670.
He's got to read every line.
In the state of Nebraska, and I just jumped to Nebraska. In the state of Nebraska in 2022, it was reported that 17 city clerks stole a total of $1.7 million. So I understand we're sitting.
In the city of Lynn Haven alone, with Vickie Gainer at the helm, $5 million. $5 million in Lynn Haven alone, and Vickie Gainer had the checkbook. And he's talking about $1.7 million in the whole country. He is so funny, is he not?
They're not going to be over the finances, but how do we expect them to be checks and balances if they're not a part of the financial process? And so then they can steal because they have their own administration. They have their own administration.
Look at it. He's really got a point now, he thinks. They can steal because they have their own administration. And that's what makes a city clerk so dangerous, see?
And they can still set up, because this is what they did. They set up their own systems in order to pay their own bills with the city's money. So although they may not be the ones exactly writing the checks, they can still set up whatever kind of shell account they want. And we as the city commission.
Listen to the details about how you could steal if you had a powerful position in the city. I mean, the guy has it all figured out.
We're going to look at whatever they bring us and say, okay, hey, this is accountability, and we're going to be the ones signing off on it. So,
just like Vickie did.
Seeing those numbers for me is concerning. That hey, here are city clerks that are stealing funds from and this is in the past 6 months. This isn't 15 years ago. This is recent stuff. So, I think also
like that's a point. He's.
When it comes to the federal, the federal indictment, I don't know if a city clerk would have saw that or not. I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? The person responsible is sitting to your right.
I'm glad it was found. And I think it was staff that noticed it.
Jesse Nelson thinks it was staff that noticed that there were 5 checks written for $5 million to the late Derwin White's nephew. That Mayor Margot Anderson reported on April 1st, 2019 to Sheriff Tommy Ford. After James Finch drove by a park and discovered it. And here he is saying he thinks staff discovered it. Look at him. Look at his body language. Does he look like an honest guy? And look at Vickie Gainer. She can't move or it'll give her away. Is this amazing? Okay, I just, there's absolutely no compunction and no embarrassment. These are the people that blow my mind the most. People who everyone in the room, look at every member of that commission. You should see the audience. Everybody knows he's making this up and he's a liar, but yet he goes along with it. How do you do that? What kind of brain do you have? What? All right, let's get back to it. All right. Oh my God.
That notice, hey, something's wrong here.
Yeah.
But
what is Jamie Warwick saying yeah for, by the way? Oh, there's Mayor Margot Anderson right there. Can't wait to hear Nelson's deposition about his belief that staff discovered the Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get to it.
But again, it's just, if we're seeing the checks and balances, as I mentioned, I think if someone is set to do corruption, I can give you whatever paperwork you need to create my own checks and balances, because whatever system we put in place, if somebody wants to beat the system, they're going to beat it.
Yeah, there's no perfect system.
So that
look at
that's
Vickie.
what's
Look at
gonna
Vickie.
happen. So we can continue to, convolute the system. We continue to complicate the system. But I just think we're creating an unnecessary dichotomy right now in our city, where we're creating 2 totally different administrations. And then I
look at Judy Vandegrift on the bottom.
My other question is, if they're under the commission, their position is just as volatile as the city manager's position. They're just 3 votes away. A new commission coming in, they're 3 votes away. So I do understand.
Look, that is the case in every city. He's talking like he has a point. Look at his face. This is so interesting. He's a fascinating study. I mean, look how much he invests into this multiple objections. But the attorney on the end is cracking me up. Amy Whiteout Myers. Look at her. and everybody else.
The idea of, hey, continuity, that institutional knowledge, but if they're under the city commission, then they're not going to be, there's no guarantee they're going to be at that position, which now we have a lot of flux because you have two different administrations that are open to new positions every 4 years or within that 4-year time frame. If we get tired, if you get upset with them or angry with them and you decide to fire them. So I just think it creates more just more vitality, more issues. And again, just
more vitality, says the scholar. He means more volatility, more vitality, says the scholar, doctor of leadership.
Two different administrations is creating a unnecessary dichotomy in our city.
Can I ask a question? So all the ones you brought up about stealing money, I'm assuming that all those city clerks fill the financial position as a city clerk. I'm not pushing for the city clerk to do the financial stuff.
But you're not understanding. You don't have to fill a financial position in order.
This is amazing. Now he's going to explain. And by the way, I mean, I would investigate him like you wouldn't believe. I mean, he's got all the ways figured out about how to steal from a city. He says you don't have to have a financial position to steal from the city. As a matter of fact, people in financial positions can't steal from the city, he's going to say, because all eyes are on them. And meanwhile, Vickie Gainer is not moving an inch. Watch, listen. He said, you don't understand, Jamie. You don't have to have a position over money to steal money. Watch.
To steal money. Michael White didn't fill a financial position. And I'm just saying he was in a financial position. I think it was Department of
This is amazing. Michael White was the city manager. Vickie Gainer. Look at how he's acting like he doesn't know who was Mayor Margo Anderson. If you're still with us, can you explain so I get it right what role Vickie Gainer had in the checks that went to Derwin White's nephew? Who had control of the checkbooks and signed the checkbooks? And I know it's complicated. Yeah. Oh, thank you. That's good enough. And I know when we've talked in your book, you explain, and again, that's where to really get all the details where you can take your time. Michael White was the chief financial officer. Vickie Gainer was the deputy. No, I don't think are you certain that was her title? Deputy city clerk? Of course you are. Do you know that earlier in this, Commissioner Warwick asked them who was the deputy city clerk, and Vickie Gainer said, I don't know. And it was her? This is amazing.
Leisure Services, Department of Leisure Services didn't fill a financial position. Even the contractor didn't fill a financial position. So
he got the checks from you guys, not Jesse. He wasn't there, but Vickie Gainer was there. Ding, 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 says Mayor Margo Anderson. I got to replay this part. I got to be quiet. This is amazing.
Here are city clerks that are stealing funds from and this is in the past 6 months. This isn't 15 years ago. This is recent stuff. So, and I think also when it comes to the federal indictment, I don't know if a city clerk would have saw that or not. I don't know. I'm glad it was found. And I think it was staff that noticed it. That noticed, hey, something's wrong here.
Yeah.
But again, it's just, if we're seeing the checks and balances, as I mentioned, I think if someone is set to do corruption, I can give you whatever paperwork you need to create my own checks and balances, because whatever system we put in place, if somebody wants to beat the system, they're going to beat it.
Yeah, there's no perfect system.
So that's what's going to happen. So we can continue to, convolute the system. We can continue to complicate the system. But I just think we're creating an unnecessary dichotomy right now in our city, where we're creating two totally different administrations. And then I did notice where you say continuity. My other question is, if they're under the commission, their position is just as volatile as the city manager's position. They're just 3 votes away. A new commission coming in, they're 3 votes away. So I do understand the idea of, hey, continuity, that institutional knowledge, but if they're under the city commission, then they're not going to be, there's no guarantee they're going to be at that position, which now we have a lot of flux because you have 2 different administrations that are open to new positions every 4 years or within that 4-year time frame. If we get tired, if you get upset with them or angry with them, you decide to fire them. So I just think it creates more just more vitality, more issues, and again, just volatility. 2 different administrations is creating a unnecessary dichotomy. In our city.
Can I ask a question? So all the ones you brought up about stealing money, I'm assuming that all those city clerks fill the financial position as a city clerk. I'm not pushing for the city clerk to do the financial stuff.
But you're not understanding. You don't have to fill a financial position in order to steal money. Michael White didn't fill a financial position. And I'm just saying he was in a financial position. I think it was Department of Leisure Services? Department of Leisure Services didn't fill a financial position. Even the contractor didn't fill a financial position. So you don't have, because the eyes are on the financial position. So yeah, we're going to keep eyes on them. So we know they're not going to take anything because all eyes are on them, but I don't have to be in a financial position to take money. And that's for any organization or any corporation.
Listen how he talks to Jamie Warwick, who has so much more experience. Jamie Warwick was a military officer in charge of a lot of stuff. All right. I mean, the guy is organized and the guy is smart. Jamie Warwick. And really good at this type of stuff. And Mayor Nelson, you're going to notice the deeper he digs this, I don't know what to call it even, like trench of idiocracy. The deeper he digs, the more he'll use the tone of his voice. And that's a tell. That is absolutely a tell. Watch.
That can happen with any setup.
And what I'm saying is, seemingly there's a trend for clerks to be stealing money. That's what I'm saying. In the past 6 months, these aren't what I just read is, and I didn't read all of them.
That's why you had the balanced triangle where you got the 2 entities always checking the one entity always checking the other entities.
You're only going to check what I give you. That's all you can check. Exactly. You can only check what I give you.
And that's exactly the reason that James Finch and even Commissioner Peebles recommends that there is a line-by-line third-party audit of this corrupt group of people. He is making the point. Oh my God, I got this. He's the greatest. Jesse Nelson is the greatest at making me laugh and entertaining me. He really is.
The responsibility, as I've always stated, even when we talked about the Financial Review Committee, is for us as commissioners, mayor, to be more engaged and more involved as needed to see the inner workings of the city. So if there's, again, if there's something that needs to be checked, because in the end, responsibility falls on us. So whatever the city manager does or doesn't do, whatever the clerk does or doesn't do, it still falls on us. And so I think there's some things that we just, hey, this is going to be our responsibility to check these things. If there's more that we want to see, if there's more processes that we think need to be put in place, as Commissioner Peebles has stated, if there's more processes, and I guess the thing is, what is it more do you want to see? What more? And I'm not saying we don't have enough, but I'm just asking, what more do you want to see that we might be able to update, revise, so that we can provide those checks and balances without a city clerk? So what else? Because from what I'm seeing, added the city clerk, we're still not adding anything additional. We're just adding another person. We're not adding any additional checks.
The city manager is the city clerk. I mean, I think that needs to be separated.
That's what I found.
And so even if you put that.
But that's what our founding fathers decided. That's just like the Constitution of the United States.
What?
Our founding fathers decided they wanted to have a manager clerk. That's what they decided they wanted to do.
So
wait, did he just bring
so you're saying we should keep the charter as is?
Wait, he just brought the founding fathers again?
Because from what I'm seeing, added the city clerk, we're still not adding anything additional. We're just adding another person. We're not adding any additional checks.
The city
and balances.
manager
Just how
is
he
the
says
city
founding
clerk.
fathers.
I mean, I think that needs to be separated. Needs to be
Well,
separated.
that's what I found.
And so
But-
even
but-
if you put that,
But that's what our founding fathers decided. That's just like the Constitution of the United States.
what?
Our founding fathers decided they wanted to have a manager clerk. That's what they
Right.
decided they wanted to do.
I gotta go home. I gotta go home. Oh my God.
So we could, so you're saying we should keep the charter as is?
We had a charter review committee.
We did.
They brought
And they
to
did
us
a great
their-
job.
They brought to us their propositions. They said in 5 years, we all voted that in 5 years, the citizens voted in 5 years we'll review the charter.
Mhm.
So I think in 5 years, whenever that comes back up, that we take a review of it, look at the entire, get another committee together, review it again.
I'll say this is, I still think the city clerk needs to be separated from the city manager. Even if it still fell under the city manager, it's still a better setup. And I think even better than that, it would still be under the city commission. You kind of look at the federal.
I got to get out of here. This is too much for me. He invoked the founding fathers again, and I got apple juice at home waiting for me, and I clearly need some vitamin C tonight. That was unbelievable. The reason that Mayor Jesse Nelson said that he couldn't fire the chief of police, who has a history of false arrest, who takes guns out of the evidence locker and gives them to his city manager, who pointed it at his wife and went to prison. The reason you couldn't fire this police chief who had a unbelievable hit and run was, he said, because of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. The founding fathers would be opposed to us getting rid of Ricky Ramey because of all the lawsuits. Does it look like they're concerned about lawsuits? I'm sorry. I really, that was it. I can't do shows on Jesse Nelson. I really cannot. All right. And there's Vickie Gainer. When I found out that she was an FBI informant and the FBI loved her lies. That's what by the way, if you want to see these criminals in action, you are looking at a crime. Who knows why this is a crime? Because that is, including Commissioner Jamie Warwick, sadly, Mayor, and 2 other commissioners, one who's not there anymore. They are in Tallahassee talking with the state representative who wants to take state money and send it to the city of Lynn Haven. The commissioners are not allowed to speak to each other about things they might vote on in the future unless it's at a noticed meeting, a proper meeting. How do you know, Bernie, that that's what they were doing? Well, here's what they posted. They posted it. They posted their crime. But of course, our state attorney, Larry Bassford, doesn't give a flip. Sheriff Tommy Ford is in on it. Today, our mayor, city manager, and commissioners, the mayor and the commissioners cannot talk about. Listen, I'm going to give you, if you want to do something, like really do something, if you've got the courage to do it, they had great meetings advocating for stormwater and infrastructure funding. They posted a picture of them in Tallahassee a couple of years ago. So, look, all you got to do is look through and find out, have any of those people since that meeting voted on stormwater or infrastructure funding? If they voted on it, they have committed a crime and you have the evidence. You say, Bernie, how do you know for sure? I've asked a judge. That is hands down a crime. Hands down, Larry Bassford's gone after people for a sunshine violation and dropped it because it was what they do. All right, it's election interference. It didn't work. But that's actually a crime. All you got to do is find out, did they vote? Those people, since that meeting, have they actually voted sunshine law violation? You should submit it to the state attorney's office and force the state attorney, force his hand. I'm told that is so powerful. This picture is so powerful. The evidence is so powerful that it would be hard for the state attorney's office not to prosecute the mayor and the other commissioners. It'd be very hard not to. So if there's an assignment, if anybody wants it. Reminder, Thursday, 7 o'clock in Lynn Haven at Roberts Hall, next to Victoria's Last Bite, Mayor Margo Anderson signing her book that tells you the true story about how a small town mayor and contractor James Finch were framed and overcame 79 counts in the eye of the lie after Hurricane Michael. I'll be there. I wrote the prologue Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Can't wait to see you. All right. I want to thank, of course, those of you who throw a tip in the tip jar at patreon.com/Bernie Thompson, as little as $5 a month. It matters. Thank you, patrons. Thank you. Without it, I couldn't do it. I really couldn't. It's easy. It's anonymous, and you can quit at any time. Patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. And of course, thank you to the unknown patriot for your support. And with that, I will see you. Well, I'll see you Thursday night if you go. And probably tomorrow night right here.